Hi and welcome to today's practice. Today we're going to be doing some poses for the lower back. I do this sequence a couple of times a week and it really helps protect my lower back and improve my lower back's health. We're going to be doing a yin style of practice, so we'll be holding the poses for about 10 to 20 breaths, and we tend to go into the poses at about a 3 or a 4 out of 10, and we allow gravity and our body weight to do the rest of the work. Very meditative style of practice, coming back to the breath throughout. Really beautiful way of practicing yoga. So let's crack on. We're going to start off on our bellies. Coming onto your forearms, elbows underneath the shoulders, coming into Sphinx pose. Closing down the eyes if you wish, turning inwards, focusing on what the pose feels like, rather than worrying about what it looks like. Coming back to the breath. Nice, smooth breaths throughout. So if you were practicing yin in a studio in a longer class, you can expect to hold some of the poses for up to about 5 minutes. In some more advanced classes it may even be longer than that, up to about 10 minutes. And the longer we hold the pose, the more intense it gets. That's why we start off at a 3 or a 4 out of 10. And really the practice is to learn to let go when it starts to get a little bit more intense. The tendency can be that we will cling on to a bit of discomfort. What we're trying to do is let it go, release it, melt into the pose. Sphinx pose is opening up through the front of the body, taking it into the lower back. Back bend's great for helping the health of the spine, increasing the mobility and flexibility in the spine. Just notice if you're holding on to any tension or tightness, maybe squeezing your buttocks, just let them go. That will help create more space in the lower back. Watching the shoulders haven't crept up by the ears, create that space between the shoulders and the ears. Breathing nice and smoothly. Then extending the arms out in front, straightening the arms. Just watch those shoulders don't creep back up by the ears. Release that space between the shoulders and the ears. Opening up through the heart center. You can bring your awareness to your heart space with each breath. Tapping into the heart space. And if, of course, you've got distracted by a thought, reminding yourself you've not done anything wrong. Your mind is just doing what your mind does, thinking thoughts. We can't control our mind, but we can stop our mind from controlling us. Coming back to the breath. Taking a moment to scan down through the body, noticing wherever there may be any tightness and tension. Could be somewhere funny, like you're squeezing one of your toes or your big toes. Just let it all go. Melting into the pose. Two more smooth breaths here. Bring the hands down by your ribs, pressing back, coming into child's pose, counterposing the back bend, stretching through the lower back, bringing your forehead onto the floor. If you can't quite get your forehead onto the floor, you can use a block underneath your forehead or a DVD box set or a decent sized hardback book. If you're struggling to get your bottom onto your heels, you can always slide a block on its side, resting on the block in child's pose. You don't need these bits of equipment. And they're not making the practice any easier, they're just supporting you in your practice. Coming back to the breath. Beautiful pose for turning inwards. Following the breath all the way in and all the way out. Bringing the hands down to rest by your feet, palms turned up. And if you've got your knees wide, you may want to bring them a little bit closer together to enable your shoulders to just melt into the floor. So we're not just stretching through the lower back, we're stretching through the shoulders and the upper back in this variation. Two more smooth breaths here. Taking your hands to the top of the mat, curling the toes under, coming into downward dog. Walking your dog, alternate heels towards the floor. Activating the glutes, the hamstrings and the calves. And then allowing both heels to move towards the floor. They probably won't touch the floor. Connecting to your palms, nice length through the arms. Elbow creases looking at one another, triceps looking at the mat. Back of your neck is soft. Gaze is relaxed between your feet. The shoulder blades are moving up your back towards your bum up towards the ceiling, and a nice line of energy down the legs to the heels, tucked behind the ankles. And then we're going to step the left foot up to where the left hand is. If you can't quite get up there in one smooth movement, you can take hold of the ankle and direct the foot to the top of the mat, placing both hands on the inside of the foot, extending that back knee as far away from you as you can. This is baby dragon. Opening up through the inner thigh and the outer hip of that front leg, through the hip flexor of the back leg and through the lower back. Breathing nice and smoothly. And then if you wish, you can come down onto your elbows. If it's a bit of a stretch, you can come down onto a block or a book, or all the way down onto the floor. Remembering that we are working at a 4 out of 10, so don't go in really deep in this, because as you hold it a bit longer, you'll notice it intensifies. Breathing nice and smoothly, coming back to the breath throughout. And taking the hands to the top of the mat, stepping the foot to the back of the mat, coming back into downward dog. Walking the dog, settling into the pose before you direct both heels towards the floor, connecting to the palms, nice length through the arms, all the way through the torso, up to the bottom and back down the legs to the heels, tucked behind the ankles. And stepping the right foot up to where the right hand is. Remembering you can take hold of the foot and guide it up if you need to. Connecting back to the palms, breathing nice and smoothly. Baby dragon. And you can stay on your palms if you want, or you can come down onto a block, or coming all the way down onto your elbows. Breathing nice and smoothly. Two more smooth breaths here. Coming back up onto the palms, stepping the foot to the back of the mat, settling into downward dog. Downward dog, really nice pose, as is child's pose. If you've got a really big niggle with your lower back, you can't quite do the whole practice. Downward dog's a great one for easing out the lower back. So's child's pose. And then coming to sink onto your knees, crossing your feet and sitting back onto your bottom. So we're going to come and rest on our backs now, and you will need a block or a DVD box set or a decent book for this one, because we're going to do supported bridge. So we're going to lie down on our backs, feet about hip distance apart. You can't quite touch the back of the ankles. You're going to place the block on its side, sliding the block to underneath your sitting bone at the base of your spine, and just resting on the block. Hands either side of the hips, palms facing up, supported bridge. And just really melting into the block, opening up through the front of the body, taking it into the lower back bend, closing down your eyes, turning inwards, returning to your breath, following the breath all the way in and all the way out. Again, if you notice you've been distracted by thoughts, as soon as you become aware that you're off down the rabbit hole with a particular train of thought, without beating yourself up, without judgment or criticism, just gently guiding your awareness back to your breath, trusting that if it's a really important thought, it will come back to you. We think between 60 and 70,000 thoughts a day. 95% of these are subconscious. We're not even aware of what it is, all that chatter. So it's a really good idea to become mindful of the noise in our head. Step away from it, let it go. And it's also worth remembering we don't spend as much time with anybody as we do ourselves. So it's nice to make that space inside your head a nice space to be, letting go of the critical voice. A really great technique for that is to notice yourself when you get into that critical self-beration and think to yourself, well, if I wouldn't say that out loud to anyone else, why am I saying it to myself? And just catching yourself every time you do that. And over time you'll notice that that critical voice starts to quieten and that space in your head becomes a much nicer place to be. So gently sliding the block out from underneath your bottom and hugging your knees into your chest. Floons come to join in the fun. So hugging the knees into your chest counterposes the back bend, stretching out through the lower back. Again, this is a fantastic pose to do if you are struggling with your lower back. Just lie down and hug your knees into your chest, stretching through the lower back. Really great pose. And you can gently rock from side to side, massaging the spine in the floor. Gently releasing the hands, extending the arms out at shoulder height. Hello, little Floony. And lowering the knees down to the right hand side, turning your head to the left as you breathe out, keeping both shoulders on the floor in a simple twist. So twisting is really great for improving the mobility and flexibility in the spine, which helps to improve the health of the spine. Just melting into the floor. Breathing nice and smoothly. And bringing the knees through centre as you breathe in, and taking the knees down to the other side as you breathe out, turning your head in the other direction. Coming back to the breath. This is the last pose before we do Shavasana, guys. And then bring the knees through centre, extending the legs onto the floor, taking the feet slightly wider than hip distance, palms on the floor, facing up towards the ceiling. Allow your breathing to return to normal. And we're going to start at the crown of our head today, just bringing your awareness to the crown of your head, softening your forehead, releasing the space between your eyes and around your eyes. Relaxing your mouth, tongue and jaw. Softening your throat and neck. Releasing your shoulders. Relaxing your arms and hands. Relax all the way down your spine and all the way down your torso. Relaxing your hips, pelvis and buttocks. Relax all the way down the back of the legs and all the way down the front of the legs. Relaxing the top of your feet, the soles of your feet and your toes. It's always really important to get some time in Shavasana when we become still and silent. It's when we allow our body to absorb the benefits of our practice. So I'm going to do just that and get silent, allow you to enjoy it. Gently guiding your awareness back to the room and to your breath. Bringing your attention to your hands, and before you wriggle your fingers, imagine you're doing so. And wriggling your fingers, notice the sensations you feel in your hands. Bringing your awareness to your feet, and before you wiggle your toes, imagine you're doing so. And wriggling your toes, notice the sensations you feel in your feet. If you'd like to stretch, take your arms along the floor, stretching your hands in the opposite direction to your toes. And then when you're ready, roll over onto your right hand side, taking a couple of breaths of transition. And then just being mindful that your nervous system is really relaxed, so it's important not to move quickly and jar it back, but to move really gently and slowly, keeping your eyes closed and your head hung low. Bringing the hands to heart centre, touching your thumbs to your heart centre. May we be clear and kind of intention. Bring your thumbs to your third eye. May we be clear and kind of thought. And bring your thumbs to your mouth. May we be clear and kind of word. Bring the hands back to heart centre. Namaste. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks very much.